Welcome into a new episode of the Bobcast, and we're going to kick things off this week with men's basketball, and I'm here with head coach Sean Brown. And coach, big week for your team upcoming here. 4 games for your guys this week. You're coming off an 0-2 week, a 4-point loss, and a really good game in Wheeling last Wednesday, and then falling on Saturday against West Liberty here in Frostburg. You have Alderson Broadus tonight, and then Notre Dame on Wednesday, Wheeling Thursday, Fairmont State on Saturday, the 4 games to wrap up the regular season for you guys. Let's start with the Wheeling game, though, however, from Wednesday. You guys led pretty much the majority of that game. You shot above 50% from the field. You shot above 50% from 3. However, Wheeling went to the free throw line 33 times in that game. What were your takeaways from Wednesday's game against the Cardinals?
Well, I think our guys played. They played pretty hard. They played really efficiently, especially on the offensive end. We made some shots, but we also got the shots we wanted. We had the folks shooting. We had the highest percentage guys on our team shooting the shots we want them to shoot.
Yeah.
So that always makes for good offense, and defensively, I don't think we played our best game. Obviously, we blew a lead. We let them get back in the game, and it was back and forth there, nip and tuck there at the end. But you could feel the momentum changing once they started battling back and really turned it up on us. And they hit some tough shots along the way. But defensively, we didn't play a really smart defensive game. We had some things that killed us. I think we fouled 3-pointers 3 times. 3-point shooters 3 times in that game. 2 or 3, but I think 3 times in that game. We let their best player hit 2 step-back 3-pointers on us. Not boxing out and getting tough, crucial rebounds down the stretch. Shooting quick shots when we don't need to. And then to add on to everything, missing free throws. So it was a perfect storm. I don't know. We don't get the whistle. It is what it is. We still got to do what we need to do to take care of what we got to take care of. I think maybe we need to drive the ball to the basket more. Maybe we need to drive it stronger. But I don't know. 33 to 13 free throws. It is what it is. We just gotta, when we do have opportunities, we gotta capitalize on them, and we gotta, we've got to play better defense.
I want to briefly look at this past Saturday as well against West Liberty. Obviously a tough opponent there, a top 25 team in the country, but it seemed like to start off that game, you guys handled their press a lot better than you did the first time around. I remember when you played at West Liberty back on January 16th, you guys got the first bucket of the game, and then West Liberty went on a 19-0 run right after that in that game. But this was a close game for a lot of the first half, and it seemed like your guards in particular were doing a pretty nice job evading that press that West Liberty is really known for. What was your evaluation of your guys from Saturday?
Well, I think for the first 7.5 minutes, 8 minutes of the game, that's what we want Frostburg basketball to look like, and that's against a national, realistically a national contender right there.
Mm-hmm.
So that first 7.5 minutes, if we could bottle that up, and kind of, but that's only 1/5 of the game. So
Right.
If we can bottle that up and do that 5 more times, throughout the course of a game. But that's up to me. That's on me to get those guys up to that level. Now now that they know they can play that level, now we gotta sustain. We gotta when we go to our bench, can those guys sustain that level of intensity? There was the last few games prior to this West Liberty game. Our bench is the guys that got us going and picked us up. Now when it comes time to going to the bench in games like this, can they sustain?
Yeah.
Or give us a lift. So it was a lot of things going on there. Again, to take my head off to the guys. We've watched the first 10 minutes of it twice now. And guys agree. We played solid basketball. Didn't play great basketball, but we did what we needed to do. We took care of the ball for the most part. Um, some guys made plays. Once we relaxed and got comfortable, and and we want these guys to know that we have confidence in them that they can play this way, and we believe in them that someday they're going to get there. We can play that way for 40 and 45 minutes a game. But we ran into a buzzsaw again, and as you know, we played a lot of guys. We played, I think, our whole roster. We played some guys early and often. We want them to get into the, see what it is to be in the fire against a team this competitive, a team this good, and I think it was good for some guys to really, play in a game like this. You know, Bartley he didn't play against West Liberty the first time, so it
Hmm.
was good to see for him to see that speed and that quickness, that athleticism, that anticipation that they provide, and he got to see that early. Once he settled down and settled in, um, I think we seen he probably spearheaded the comeback with that dunk, and then Aj kind of took the torch, and started hitting a couple of shots, and we started feeling good about ourselves. But once they buckled down and weathered our storm and countered it, and they turned it up on us, we kind of folded. So that's what we got to do. We got to learn how to sustain those drives, and then sustain that punch back in the mouth, and then we got to go back at them, and it's a back and forth game. First time somebody fold or have any kind of in with that caliber team, anytime they smell blood, they're gonna feast.
Yeah. And myself and Logan Walsh on the broadcast, we talked about you just brought up uh, having the opportunity to play pretty much your entire roster in that game, and how well that's going to suit you going into a week like this where you have 4 games and your MEC tournament lives are on the line for these next couple of games, but being able to have or kind of get these guys more of a run out there. I know one guy in particular was Justin Bailey, who we've seen his minutes kind of go down as the year's gone on, but I thought he played pretty well late in the second half on Saturday. But one guy I want to talk about had a great game, season high 33 on Wednesday, was Ajay Edwards, and it looked like in that game he was looking for his shot more so than we've really seen him do the last several games. Was that more of a focus on the offensive end going in? Because it looked like the initiative for a lot of possessions on offense were setting off ball screens to get him the basketball in space, either for catch and shoot opportunities or for him to put the ball on the floor and create offense.
Well, to be completely honest with you, that's always our
Yeah.
that's always our
It seemed like
intention
more of a
to
focus in that
to
game.
get
Yeah.
Ajay the ball.
Yeah.
He's just understanding that, and that's crazy. That's extremely weird that you pointed that out. He's just understanding that, and we tell him, he often talks to us. He's a kid that he wants to figure it out. His IQ is growing every day. His game is growing every day. Obviously, he has talent. Okay, he has strength. He has speed. He has athleticism. He has quickness. He can shoot the ball really well. He has touch. He's a lefty, but his basketball IQ is growing every day. His love for the game is growing every day. He asks a lot of questions, and I'll take you behind the curtain just a little bit. I'm not going to go too deep, but he asks, Coach, how can I be more effective? What do you see? And how. And we tell him, you just gotta, you gotta find your spots. You gotta pick your spots. He's very, he shares the ball a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He's not really. I don't think he's a scorer by nature. He's kind of been thrust into that role his last couple of years of college, or since he's been in college, obviously here. But he want to know how he could be effective, and we flat out told him, dude, we put the ball in your hands. I mean, if you're not effective, if you're not scoring the way you feel like you should be scoring, then there's things that you're not there's things you're not doing. Guys know that you're the guy. They're gonna roll. They're gonna send double teams at you. They're gonna roll their defense towards you. They're gonna shade guys your way. They're gonna chase you off the 3-point line. They're gonna run at your left hand. What are you going to do to counter that? how could you get your your offensive game as well as defensive game off? Because now that he's playing better defense, it's transitioning to his offense, and he's playing a lot smoother game. He's learning the coaching staff. He's learning his teammates. This is a totally new situation for him. His third college in 5 years. So he's figuring it all out, and he'll get better. He'll continue to get better. But Ajay is we're happy with Ajay, and he had a fairly good game against West Liberty. He knew his minutes was going to be down no matter win or lose. So and he took it. He played really hard. He played really well, and had practiced really well this week. So we expect another big game from him tonight.
I think with a guy like Ajay, I think it kind of, when he showed up, obviously he started the year with 32 against D&E, and I think it just kind of hit him quickly. Like, other teams instantly realized that he was one of the best guards in this conference, and I think it took him a few games to kind of get settled back in and figure out how to counter those defensive schemes that you just mentioned, and how to still find his way to score, because he, to me, looks like a very opportunistic scorer. He's going to take what the defense gives him, whether that be scoring 30 a game or moving the ball around and finding his teammates. Like you're saying, he's a very intelligent player. He knows what he wants to do with the basketball. But, I mean, against Wheeling, he had his shot going. And then early against West Liberty, he did as well, hit 3 early threes in that game. Another guy is finding a shot, Sean Patterson. We talked earlier this year about how he wants to expand his game a little bit. He had a couple threes against Wheeling, and then the game previous to that against Fairmont State had 2 threes in that game as well. What are you seeing from him outside of games, on the practice court, during shoot-around? What is he doing in order to get that shot right and to expand his game a little bit and become more of an offensive threat?
Well, he's just put in the work. The last 3 years, ever since I've come in, he expressed to us that first year, his sophomore year, that he wanted to be a better shooter. He wanted to expand his game. He's thinly built. So he'd like to try to be a kind of a 3-4 man.
Yeah.
So since his sophomore year, he's been kind of working on that 3-point shot. We definitely, we didn't give him the green light to take it until last year, and he was reluctant to take it last year. Now we're kind of encouraging him and kind of twisting his arm to take it, because he's playing against bigger guys, bigger post guys, and we're giving up something every night, so we got to get something in return. If Patterson's going to be on the court, and he has a jump shot, and it's going, and it's sweet, it's soft, the form is perfect. Again, he shoots thousands of them a week, and it's about that time that he starts to take those shots.
Something that's proven to be a strength for you guys, getting back to the guards, has been that guard depth that's on your team. Makes sense, being you're a guard that played here at Frostburg a while back. But, I mean, you got Ajay, Kanan Bartley, Jalen Johnson, Jalen Albury, Jamil Jones, Desmond Renee. Those 6 guys in particular, those are 6 guys right there that you can trust, and you have trusted this year, to facilitate offense, run the point, and be a solid ball handler and distributor on the offensive side. How much of a weapon is that for you to have those 6 guys I just mentioned out on the court at any given time and be able to trust them with the basketball in their hands to make the right decision?
Well, it's good to have veterans, especially guys has been in wars and been in tough games. It's nice to have those guys, in those games with you, at the end of games especially. But yeah, we have multiple guys that we trust and believe in. Even our young guys, Aubrey, heck, he's got probably a half dozen starts already. So we trust all our guards. We know we put a lot on their plates, and we want them to kind of figure it all out. right now because when we are tournament eligible, and I'm talking about NCAA tournament eligible, we want to hit the ground running. We want our guys to go in. We want all of our guys to be comfortable and confident that they can step on the court and be effective, and we want them to be effective from 1 through 12. Again, when we are NCAA tournament eligible, which is not next year, but the year after. But we want to train these guys up. We want to get these guys a lot of playing time. We want to get them in multiple actions. Get them in multiple different situations, stressful situations. Because win or lose right now, it's only going to it's only going to be good for us moving forward. So yes, we trust those guys. We got confidence in those guys. But hey, it's a continuous evaluation too.
Yeah.
This is Division II basketball. I mean, we're actively recruiting a big time point guard right now, and every year, every single year, everybody has a chance to come in and play right away, or everyone has a chance to kind of improve their position in the program. So although we do. We do like these guys, the guys we have, and we turned away probably 150 point and combo guards already this year. We're actively recruiting that position. We're not totally sold. We're not 100% bought in. We like the guys we have, but we if we can improve that position, best trust and believe we will.
Big week for you guys, of course. Final week of the regular season, 4 games to go.
Yes, sir.
And there's obviously a lot of moving parts still to be decided here. Don't want to look past Monday, so I'm not going to. Tonight, Alderson brought us a team that really for the most part of that game about a month ago in Philippi, you guys played tough against them. They're a good three-point shooting team. They have that one big David Shriver that's a good shooter as well. He's been playing well. What's your assessment of Alderson Broaddus second time around, and what's your mindset? What's the team's mindset entering this week, this final week of the regular season?
Well, I'll start with your first question.
Mm-hmm.
Alderson Broaddus, they play really hard. They are scrappy. They are all over the place. They never quit. They never give up. They're a find a way team, which is, those are usually the teams that we're good at playing against. But for whatever reason, this year we hadn't been. Maybe because of our lack of depth at the 4-5 position. But that team is they're gonna fight to the end. They're gonna scrap. They remind me a lot of Wheeling.
Yeah.
Except for they have a little more length than Wheeling. But they're gonna scrap. They have 2 or 3 guys that's pretty good players who can score it off the bounce, can score it, catch and shoot. They're solid defenders, really skilled guys. They got about 2 really skilled guys, high IQ guys, but the rest of those guys are just, they're players. They play hard. They're gonna get on the glass. They're not gonna quit. They're gonna defend the heck out of you for 40+ minutes. And that's a tribute to their coaching staff. They do a great job of getting those guys up and ready to go every single night. They've started, I think, they have, 11 games in. They've started 10 different starting lineups, 9 or 10 different starting lineups, if I'm not mistaken. This last game, their best player didn't even play, which is, crazy to me, and they only lost to Fairmont by one.
Yep.
They're starting big, didn't play this past game. So, they're playing 12 guys, and all 12 are efficient.
Yeah.
All 12 play hard. All 12 know the system and knows what's expected. So they're it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough one tonight. Can we get it? Absolutely. First time we played them, I'm not even sure if Jamil played. I know Sean and Jamil was coming off of really some really big injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how much they played or how effective they were. I don't think CB played that game.
Nope.
So this will be the first time they'll get to see CB. So we'll I don't know. We'll see. But this should be a really good game. It should be closely contested. They may be favored to win a game, but if we come out and do what we need to do, this could get ugly for them. just being blunt. If we do what we need to do and play the way we think we could play, um, yeah, this could get ugly for them. But I don't see this being a runaway on either side. Again, those guys play really hard, but we're home and we're ready to go. So we'll see.
We will see. We get looking forward to it tonight and the rest of this week. Coach Sean Brown, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, man. Thanks a lot.
Next up here on the Bobcast, we have women's basketball, and I'm joined by head coach Carrie Saunders. Coach, a busy last couple of weeks of the regular season for your team. You're able to get back in action this past Wednesday at Wheeling, falling in that game, and then having to play a rare back-to-back at home here at Bobcat Arena. Close loss to Fairmont State on Friday, 80-74, and then a loss on Saturday against West Liberty. And then 4 more games this week in this kind of weird season we're in the midst of and are drawing very close to the end of. 4 games this week, starting with Alderson Broadus at Bobcat Arena tonight. But as I mentioned, back in action this week, the 3 games you played in 4 days. What did you see from your team from this past week of games?
Wednesday, getting back in action from almost a week and a half off was a little slow. We had 2.5 hours of practice before we were tipping off on Wednesday, just because of our weather and only getting a certain amount of time in the gym. And we were sluggish for sure on Wednesday. Our shooting percentage was very, very low. Getting back into the rhythm of things, being short-staffed, there was a lot of things that were just different about that game. But yeah, I mean, Wheeling shot, I think the lowest they shot per quarter was 50%, and we were in the 20s. So that's hard to to win a game when we're shooting that poorly. But looking ahead to Friday's game at Fairmont, we really turned it around. Played phenomenal defense. That's where it started for us. We threw some different things at Fairmont, and we were bought in. We were locked into that, and there was a lot of fouls called in that game.
I think it was 59. Yeah,
59 was the final tally. I think they made 27 free throws to our 13. So you lose by 10, and that's close because we won in every other category. Not that that's the end game, but that's a hard pill to swallow, in the locker room after the game. And then turn around, again and play on Saturday. And, Kyle, the West Lib coach, was like, I don't know how you're playing this WNBA schedule. We're doing mobility that morning, which you usually do the day after a game, but we're doing it for pregame. It's just a different dynamic. Going into this year, we thought it was going to be wild, and it's turning out to be as wild as I could ever imagine. So we're just getting through. We're learning a lot. We're also really young. We have 3 total upperclassmen on our roster. So at the end of the day, this is a lot of experience for our young kids, and we still see the end goal, where the program is going. So we're just trying to stay focused on that.
No, it's definitely. I mean, I think I was talking with Brian Christensen, which you'll hear later on the Bobcast, about kind of how kind of weird this everyone knew going into this year that the schedules were going to get kind of messed up with just how things were going to go with COVID, but playing 7 games, playing nearly half your schedule here in the last 2 weeks of the season, certainly a challenge for your team. But talking about that Fairmont State game, and you brought up a good point with the defense you guys played, because Fairmont, that has the second leading scorer in the conference, and Sierra Kochman.
Yep.
And she only had 3 points until halfway through the third quarter.
Yep.
What changed? You guys were also up 10 up by 10 at halftime. What kind of changed over the last 15 minutes of that game as Fairmont State went on their run?
Yeah, we were really locked in at halftime. We were face guarding Sierra. Kirsten, Cece, and Brene did a phenomenal job. We were rotating those 3 against her, and they struggled. There was a lot of times that they pulled her out of the game because they couldn't figure out how to get into a rhythm without her touching the ball as much as she usually touches it. And then coming out at halftime, we were really locked in. We knew that they were going to make a run, and we had to weather the storm of their runs. And we came out of the locker room, and they called 3 straight charges on us, and it just like changed the momentum of how we felt like we could attack the rim. And there's this fine line of like, yeah, we got to keep attacking, but if they're going to continue to draw charges and get all these charge calls, our girls are going to be a little bit timid. So it took kind of that wind out of our sails, right within the first 2 minutes of the third quarter. But we battled. We continued to battle. And we can't let those things affect us. But at the end of the day, I've got really physical athletes on my team that like to get into the paint and draw fouls. And so that's our game. So yeah, there's a lot of adjusting. We tried to, get into our mid-range game. We still tried to ISO some of our players with different matchups that we could pull from them. But yeah, I'm never a coach that likes to say like, there was a ton of fouls and it was hard to, but it truly was, with 59 fouls called in a game. And, Fairmont had some fouls called too, and we had some fouls called. But I think the block charge call in that game completely shifted the environment of that game. But it was a big learning experience. We've got to learn, before they tee us up to take a charge to stop and pop. So just learning from each game.
In that game in particular, and it's interesting you bring up how kind of the mindset of attacking the basket had to change, because two players in Brianna Hall and Ariana Briggs Hall both had career highs in that game, 23 for Briggs Hall, 20 for Hall. But Ariana made all her shots in the first half, and she is someone that puts the ball on the deck and gets to the basket consistently. And it seemed like something changed in the second half, but I mean, whether or not that was how kind of the mindset or the dynamic of that game changed, what was your evaluation of those two in particular, Rihanna and Ariana, in that game, and how well they played on both ends, really?
They played incredible. It's one for Ari. She's so good.
She is.
She's
really
so
is.
good. And she's deceptively quick. You look at her and then she's blowing by people. She's crafty. She can get to the rim. She can really take on any matchup. And Ree's becoming the same way. Ree's a freshman that we had pretty high expectations for. And last night she, it was her best game of the season by far, because she kind of just let everything go and she played and she was aggressive. And she's really coming into her own. So, yeah, I was incredibly proud of those two. They're two really tough matchups. And we just, we continue to go to those two, as well as, some other threats that we have on our roster. But, yeah, I was really proud of their effort in that game. For both of them to have, that many points, that's great for us if both of them are scoring like that.
You mentioned specifically in the Fairmont game, the defense that you had to play against Kochman with 3 of your guards, but the one, at least for me, that stood out among the rest was Sierra Thomas. I think she really, maybe not in the box score, but I wish they would keep track of like deflected passes or something, because it seemed like she was getting into passing lanes, but not gambling too much to allow odd number opportunities. What does she bring to the table defense? She's another young player for you, just a sophomore, but has proven over her year plus here now that she's very steady at the point guard position and on both ends of the floor for you.
Yeah, she has really come into her own. When she just like relaxes and plays free, she's incredible on both sides of the floor. She gets her hands on things. Like you said, they don't show up in the stats, but she's getting in. She's active. She's involved. She's become more vocal this past week, which is phenomenal for us. Offensively, when she gets downhill, there's nobody that can keep up with her. She's so quick. She's also crafty. We're learning how to finish and how to make good decisions once she's up in the air. But these last two games and even the West Lib game, she was it for us. Like when she was on the floor, things seemed to be going well for us. She's really relaxed and come into her own these last few games in this last week. I don't know if the pause was good for her. She got a little rest, but she has really done a good job for us. Defensively, she's usually matched up against one of their top guards, and then offensively she's, in charge of breaking presses and bringing the ball up the floor. Like she's doing it all for us, and it definitely doesn't go unnoticed.
Your top scorer, Morgan Nabroski, a little bit of a slow shooting week for her. What goes into the game or in practice for her to kind of get back on track for this last week of the season?
Yeah, for a player like her, I talk to her. It's all mental. You've got to know that you're that great of a player, and you've got to believe it. And that's for everybody. I tell everybody when we do shooting drills, you've got to shoot the ball like it's going in no matter what every single time. And then if it doesn't, you adjust. You don't get frustrated. And that's what this week was for her, is just like get back to the root of things. You've got to let go of that frustration. Basketball players have off games or off nights, but it's how you respond to it, and you've got to let that go. Like, hey, I had a bad night. Moving on to the next. Tomorrow night, it's going to be a great night. And that's the type of mental attitude that everybody needs to have. I think every basketball player, I tell her all the time that, if you go out and you make every single shot that you ever take in the game of basketball, like there's no challenge to that. Right. That's why we play sports, for that mental challenge. So it's just a matter of hitting the reset button and her believing that, like, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to I'm going to score, but if I'm not scoring, I'm going to do other things to help my team. And we had that conversation too, is like, if you're not scoring, like, all right, I can lead in rebounding, or I can, get someone who's on the ball. And, there's a lot of things to do in the game of basketball, but she's a good player. She'll bounce back. New week. So looking forward to see what she can do this week.
And that week starts tonight. Alderson Broadus coming to town. And this is a big game for you guys. Of course, four games to wrap up your regular season this week. You're a game behind them in the loss column, and they're a little vulnerable. They've lost their last 6 games coming into this night. So where's the mindset of your team going into this final week of the regular season?
Yeah, take it one day at a time. So today's mindset is to win tonight. And then we'll figure out the rest of the week. But we've got to take it a day at a time. I mean, tonight is one of those games that somebody's going to bounce back into the win column. So we've just got to believe it's on our home floor. We have played a lot of games. We haven't had off days yet. So, but we've got to still be ready to play when the ball goes up in the air. So that's all it is just taking it one day at a time, and for us to believe and get back in the win column.
Coach, appreciate you joining us on the Bobcast, and best of luck to you guys tonight and the rest of this week.
Thank you very much.
Next up here on the Bobcast is the men's and women's swimming teams, and I'm joined by the head coach, Brian Christensen. And, Coach, a good showing for both sides this past weekend at Fairmont State. The women picking up a very close victory, went down to the final race, 122-121 over the Falcons. The men losing in the meet, but still performing well. 7 first-place finishes for the men, 6 for the women. But a good showing for you guys, both sides, after having a few weeks off leading up to this meet.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me here, Matt. It's always a pleasure to greet you on a Monday morning.
Of course.
I was really thinking about, like, how much I always think about fishing when, I do the bobcast, because I think about casting and then my lure will bob in the water. Does that ever cross your mind?
I'm not an avid fisher, I would say, but
this could become a fishing. I think you could segue very easily into a fishing themed podcast.
I think what we could do is find a way to get some fishing in the department.
Yeah.
Start a fishing team here.
I don't know. Sounds a little fishy to me.
Where would we fish? It would be a little hard to fish right now.
There's actually, our kids actually do a lot of fishing. They go to Deep Creek or in any kind of ponds, or they do a little ice fishing, cut a little hole.
That would be interesting.
Which is great on the lake, because if the ice breaks, then our kids will just swim to the other side, and they'll swim fast because I know their times from the meet. That's my really forced segue.
So there's a hybrid here.
That's right.
I think we're on to something.
Yeah. I think it's like a biathlon. We could do like a fish and swim. Instead of a ski and shoot, you cast your lure, reel it in, and then you have to, like, maybe you let it go and you have to race the fish.
That's it.
To the other side.
That's the new practice.
Yeah.
scheme now.
My effort is just make these Bobcasts weirder and weirder.
No, we're just brainstorming ideas at this point.
That's right. We had a really good meet. It was fun. It is always great. I kind of prepped them, Friday, and I was kind of like, hey, listen, no matter what happens, this is going to be one of the fun ones that you remember, because it's going to be pretty close, and whether it goes our way, whether it goes another way, it's just going to be like every race is going to be fun, which was our women never led until the last relay.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. We tied after the 500, and I kind of told, and it was actually Aubrey Morris had a touch out to get second, and I kind of told them, like, hey, that touch out got us into a position where we were tied. And she's like, oh, really? And then, we pretty much did the math, and I was kind of thinking that I knew the 200 AM was going to be close. And then Gabby Thompson got the touch out there. So it was really like two pretty big touch outs.
Yeah.
And that put us in the position that we had to go 1-3 in last relay. And I was really excited because they had some good swims. They beat us in the 200 medley, but they must have ran out of gas because it wasn't even a close race. It was like we were 1-3 by a mile, which is like. But that's, I think, what I've been saying the last couple of Bobcasts is that last relay on our women's side, they've gone so hard every time. And in our last two meets, which weren't really close, the Salem when we were way ahead, and at Davis-Elkins where they were way ahead, so in kind of two different scenarios, but we still went really, really hard in last relay. I think our women are undefeated in their last relay this year, which is like awesome.
Yes.
And they pulled it off again, which is just, it's fun to watch.
You mentioned one of the swimmers I just saw earlier this morning on your Instagram on social media for the swim team. 3 swimmers you named in particular as your quote-unquote swimmers of the meet.
Yeah.
Gabby Thompson was one. Andrew Krielman was another, one of the first years on the men's side, as well as Quincy Page. What did they do in this meet that stood out to you that really impressed you?
Gabby, this is her first meet back. She had a few other stuff going on, but then she just had some really big swims, which was really cool to watch. And she got up and did that last relay too, and got she did the IM, basically had the men's 100 IM to rest, and then got up and did that last relay that got third, which was pretty huge for her. On the men's side, the men's meet, it was like the meet went better as we went along. I think that we had some cobwebs to shake out in the first half. I think there's basically came down to 3 races that we either touched out or I think should have won, which was the 200 free, then the 50 free, and the 200 backstroke. Jackson Miller was involved in 2 of those. I don't want to go anything against Jackson Miller. He got a best time in the 200 backstroke by like 4 seconds. He literally went 4 seconds faster than he did at Davis-Elkins. Then he got a best time at Davis-Elkins. Then he got touched. He lost by like 8/10. So it's hard to be like
Right.
Then his 50 free was great. Just got touched out by 5 1/100ths. And then Noah had a great swim too. So it's hard to really say like, oh, hey, we didn't do bad, but the free amount was a little bit better. I think those 3 things change. We win that meet. So that was really fun to see. But Andy Krielman, this is his first meet back as well. He was he won 3 events. 200 fly going 200 is like really, really fast. He was actually number 2 all time, tied for number 2 with Jay Gardner with a 200.91. He needs to drop about a second to get our team record, which is like he was in a dual meet, first time swimming it in like a year. That was really impressive. Yeah. And then for the 100 fly, Fairmont really lowered that up. I mean, their best swimmer is Pedro Gaspar. They threw him in the fly, which is not really his usual event. And then they had Magister, who was their best breaststroker, who he actually set the pool record in their 200 breaststroke, which is like wild. And then the guy, I think it was Tyler Virtue. They loaded up that fly. I was looking at that and I was like, ooh, oh boy. It was like, this is gonna be fun. And so like Andy getting first on the fly and taking basically their three best guys down was like, whoo,
Yeah.
let's go. Then Quincy was, I gave him some meat because I really try to reward and recognize people who like will, make a change to their races, make a change to their stroke, like adapt, or come back from a bad swim. Which his 53 wasn't bad at all. He was a 23.7, which is like honestly pretty good for him in season. But he definitely, he had some kind of awkward walls. His hands slipping a little bit, and then, he had a strategy going in the 100. You had that 10-minute break, and then 100 free was like right up next. So he got, I think, third in the 50, and then he just knew what he was doing. He wanted to really even split that 100. He did a 26 and then 27, which is not really like him. Usually he dies a little bit more. So you're making that active change, being like, hey, I want to swim this race better. Going 53, which was really, really good for him in season, and then winning it was just like, wow, this is like a standout swim. So it was exciting to watch.
And someone else you brought up a second ago was Noah Loper, who also had a top 10 all-time time over the weekend in the 200 IM, a 2:02.44 for him. He's been really impressive so far this year. Like just one of the couple first years, as you just talked about Andy Krielman a second ago in his first meet. But Noah Loper, I remember when I was on the call for the Salem meet, I want to say it was his first swim of that meet. Just flying right through, able to come in first in that. He was really impressive in that meet, and he's continued to be impressive over the last two meets up until through Fairmont this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
What's your assessment of him so far and how he's performed so early on?
He's just such a workhorse. I feel like I'm always trying to challenge him and throw something that he can't do. I feel bad. I feel like his win-loss record isn't that great this year. He keeps going against the top people.
He's just putting up good times. That's the thing.
In the conference. His times are awesome.
Yeah.
Like it's really quite spectacular. He's pretty close to some of his best, and I think he's going to do really well. He's going to have to figure out, his events at conference, kind of what we really want him to do, because he can do a lot of things. He's just so versatile. He's really a classic IMer, which is something that we've needed for a long time. And now it was great for him to. Again, touching out. I mean, Pedro is good. He's top in the conference. Getting touched out by him is a pretty okay thing. Mm-hmm. And then closing out the meet on 2 wins, basically for Noah. He did won the IM, and then anchoring the a relay that won. Again, kind of really the same exact thing as Gabby, having about 5 minutes rest. And loading up and going again, it was just really impressive. So he's done really well for us.
I want to shift back to the women's side here real quick, and of course on the men's side with Noah Loper performing really well. On the women's side, one of your top swimmers this year has been Aubrey Morris. 2 more wins for her on Saturday. When you count in relay wins, 6 wins for her through the first 3 meets of the season. How has she been working? Not really in. I mean, just before going into these meets, what is the kind of work ethic that she brings to the table week in and week out to allow her to have this success so far this year?
She's really an incredible athlete and human being. She was our MVP last year, junior captain this year, and she's earned it. I think that she has looked better than she ever has in the water. She's working really, really hard. And that shows, I think she was the fastest woman in the pool on that relay. And, it's amazing that she's racked up some wins, a really good 200 free, which, again, isn't that far off what she did tapered at conference last year. I think she was a 206. She did like a 209 here. Then she's thrown down, again, I think she was like 56. I think she was 56.0. In the relay last year, going 58.0 right now is like putting her in a really good position. So it's been some good leadership from her for sure.
And that leads into something I wanted to talk about too, because when we spoke last, the first time that I was talking to you on the Bobcast this year, we talked a little bit about the first years on this team and the impact that they've had, and we talked about it a little bit here before with Noah and Andy Krielman. But when you look at the veterans on both sides, Aubrey for the women and guys like Anthony Giuseppetti on the men's side, who's a very accomplished swimmer here, of course, what kind of leadership do swimmers like that provide to the new faces in this program?
Well, it's a big thing that we're talking about this last week is making sure that our captains and our veterans are teaching our underclassmen, because I think it's obviously a difficult year.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff, I think a lot of traditions and, things that we've done for the last couple of years that we just haven't been able to do. Flipping through my old photos, some of the memories we have is like our Halloween party, dressing up in costumes, and our Christmas party, and our Florida training trip, and all these bonding things that we haven't existed this year. So it's really hard to kind of teach the underclassmen what our values are when we don't have as much interaction with them. So really what I was telling them, and meeting with our captains on Friday, and I was saying, like, listen, we just need to kind of keep being enthusiastic, keep being positive, know that we have we have 29 practices left. That's 29 chances to get better, and every day we just gotta keep working, and you guys just need to be the example, right? You need to be the first one in, the last one out, and show them the kind of work, what it means to be a Bobcat.
3 of those first years on the women's side that I have wanted to mention: Liz Perry, Francesca Cravassera, and Summer Mastandria. Did I get that right? Mastandria? Did I get that?
I say Mastandria, but I think that's my Rochester, my high nasally northern Rochester coming up. But she's from Cleveland, so it's kind of the same thing.
I'll be up near Cleveland on Wednesday, heading to Notre Dame for basketball. But those 3 in particular have been good all season. There were 3 of the 4 swimmers on that final 400 free relay team that won the women's side that meet right at the end. What have you seen from them that allows you to have the confidence to say, hey, you 3 are going to be on this relay team, go win us this meet?
Yeah. I'll quickly add Callie Kobeja to that group, who has been really doing really, really well at breaststroke. Like, she's really in a position where we need her to be, which has been great. But I think Francesca, she just works her butt off. She swam this morning. She did really well. We did a pretty tough set. She held on in a good way, and she's just been really excelling in practice. And to me, that's kind of like, if you want to do good at meets, you got to do good in practice. You can't. The kind of people who aren't able to do what we need them to do in practice, they're not going to get there. Meets don't magically happen, right? Like, if you work hard in practice, you're going to the payoff's going to come in the meets, and Francesca just exemplifies that. She does a really good job. Liz Perry, I think, is just has a tremendous amount of talent, and really a lot of untapped potential. I mean, she never swam high school. She basically did a lot of summer league, but she is real quick, and I think she's just gonna like explode with our training here, and do really well. So it's really fun to watch her. And Summer is like she's so like wise beyond her years. She's a freshman, but she's like really mature, and she's just like put together, and she just knows what she wants to do, and she's organized, and she will keep track of practice better than me. Like, she knows the intervals, and like, I'll say go on the top. She's like, actually, she's like, no, we're supposed to go on the 50. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot we had another repeat or whatever. But she just knows where she is all the time, and she just like is really great on top of things. So you may notice that all these things are nothing to do with swimming, really. It's just like, these are all just personality factors, and that is the key to success. It's having that basic foundation, and then you see it in practice, and then you see it in meets, and then you see it in races.
Season's going by quick. I mean, there was only 5 meets on the schedule with this abbreviated season you have here. 2 more meets for your for your team ahead of the MEC championships. You're at Notre Dame on Sunday. When you look back at the 3 meets so far and just combine them together, what has impressed you the most so far from both of these teams?
I think just our improvement so far. We really had wanted to get in those couple meets quick, just because, quite frankly, worried about our season being canceled at any moment. It's hard having a meet after 11 days of training. It's real hard, and it definitely showed. It's equivalent of having to meet in like mid-September. That is early.
Yeah.
And I think I'm impressed with this team to kind of see results I don't think we were really happy with, but to know, like, hey, listen, we're just trying to race, and we're just trying to learn. And we are learning every meet, and we're improving every meet, and we still have that drive to kind of keep getting better. And to me, sticking with everything, I mean, it's not easy. I think it's hard enough to be just like a human being every day.
Of course.
To wake up and be like, oh, I'm a human on Earth. Like, that's hard. And then, to be a college student, I think there's a lot of pressure and it's a lot of difficulty. And then to be an athlete is like a lot of more pressure on top of that. And then do all that in the middle of a pandemic. We're being tested twice a week, and there's been a lot of like last minute things and say, hey, you need to fill this out. You need to fill out these forms immediately, or we need to change your policy because new science has come out or whatever. It's just to be flexible and adaptable throughout all this. It's just been really impressive. And the fact that these kids have stayed and are actually still improving and actually still getting the best times is like this. We got to sit back and realize how amazing this is.
Oh, yeah. No, that's the thing that I think kind of gets overlooked really with any sport.
Yeah.
Regardless of what sport you're playing, at the collegiate level, the things that these athletes and even the coaching staff has to go through.
Yeah.
You mentioned being flexible, adapting to everything, because things are changing by the minute pretty much, it seems like. And it is very impressive to think that they're still able to go out there and do their job and perform the way that they expect of themselves and that you and the rest of the coaching staff expect of them. And I think that shouldn't go unnoticed, because what they've had to endure this year is unlike anything they've experienced.
Yeah, that's a big thing that we've tried to message. Like, listen, you get through this, you're gonna be okay.
Oh yeah, we'll get through it.
You're gonna have a good rest of your career and a good rest of your life, especially the freshmen. It's like, I sit them down every once in a while and be like, hey, this isn't what college actually is, right? Like, usually you can actually hang out in someone else's room.
Right.
Usually you don't have to like wait for line at the dining hall 6 feet apart. This isn't actually what this experience is. So.
Yeah. No, definitely some challenges, but both sides have looked pretty good so far. Over the first couple of meets, Notre Dame on Sunday on the road in South Euclid, Ohio. Your final road meet before you come back March 6th is your next home meet inside Bobcat Natatorium. Coach Brian Christensen, appreciate you joining us on the Bobcast as always.
Yeah, it's certainly been a catch here. Hope we can fin-ish well, and make I was trying to think of another fish pun.
You're trying to bring it full circle.
Yeah.
I appreciate the attempt.
Trying to I actually have been sitting here really thinking about fish puns. I didn't even know what
When's the last time you went fishing?
Probably when I was like 12. I'm not a big fisher.
Well, that makes two of us.
Yeah.
I went in. Well, I wouldn't consider it going fishing, because fishing to me is like waking up at 5 in the morning, sitting on a boat in the middle of some body of water. I've never done that. That's a whole nother level.
No, we never. That's probably why I never got any bites, though.
Yeah, I got one time.
Yeah.
It was a small one.
I caught a small one like once, but you gotta go in the hazy dawn.
Yes.
Fish are biting, eating crickets or whatever.
Is that what they eat?
I don't know.
Eats. Well,
worms.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's what the bait is, right?
Yeah, I guess.
They use crickets as
They're
bait.
just shiny. I wonder why bait works. Why does shiny? If there's any fisher, we have a lot of wildlife and fisheries majors on this team.
Yeah.
We
There
should
you go.
ask them about
I'm gonna rely on you to get the answer to that.
why does shiny feathery bait attract fish? I mean, they don't really eat shiny bugs. I don't know. Maybe they do.
They could.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm not an expert on the eating habits of aquatic creatures necessarily, but
I don't know what they're eating something. This has been great.
yes, as always.
Good stuff. Sarah and Missy, I know you're doing well. I'll shout out to my fiance and our lovely cat, and go Bobcats.
Go Bobcats. Next up on the Bobcast is volleyball and head coach Kylie Hine. Kylie, thanks for joining us. Last week, just one day that you played, but a doubleheader at home against Alderson Broaddus, and a long night of volleyball for your team, losing both those matches in 5 sets, and then a busy week for you guys upcoming. You're at Wheeling tonight, and then you host them back here tomorrow, and then at West Liberty on Friday. But when you look back at the Alderson Broaddus matches, as I mentioned, 2 5-setters, what stood out to you the most when you reflect back on those?
I think that one of the things that sticks out the most is just with every match that we've had so far, there has been that small improvement. So it's just a bummer that it was 2 matches in one day. But, I think it speaks a lot to go from losing 0-3 in every other match that we have played, and then to turn around and fight competitively to that 5-set match, not just once, but twice in a row. So I think that, it was really nice. I was talking with Guy the other day, and he was like, it's really hard to go 5 sets just in itself, but then to lose and then to come back within 30 minutes and then just not roll over, like that speaks a lot to the character and the integrity of a team. So I think that, that's a huge positive that I think with the team, we just need to hold on to that part and kind of take that moving forward.
Yeah, because that was something I was thinking of when I was putting my questions together, and we were just talking about it before we went on, with how obviously this is a weird season, and scheduling is going to get a little weird, and having these double headers is kind of a byproduct of that. Typically, you'll see like early season tournaments, you'll get your double headers, but it's not all that often that you play a match and then get a quick break and go right back at it, let alone have them both go 5 sets. How did you prepare your team to like going into that doubleheader and getting them prepared for what ended up being a long night of volleyball?
I think looking back, I wonder if the preparation should have been a little bit different. But
hindsight's 20/20.
I know, right? Oh man, it was so long ago. What did we do? Like, we watched film. We talked about individual players on AB's roster. Ashley McDonald is a great outside. She's been a great outside for them since she's been a freshman. So talking about that, and mentally preparing the girls, like showing them, saying like this is what they look like. I think having the ability as a coach to like have a little bit of a history with AB is nice. But I will say AB played very well. And typically, I feel from previous years playing AB, they're not as consistent as what they were necessarily when we were playing them. So that's awesome. Everyone loves some good volleyball. But the preparation aspect, I think I'm just really proud of how some of these young girls on the team are really starting to step up in different ways and how quickly they are. Because, what is this? We only have, 2 more weeks left of season, but we've only had 3 weeks beforehand. So I guess we're halfway, but it is crazy. But I think, I look back and I wish that we played AB and then had just a day until we played them again, because I think that the growth within that learning of just being able to see them would have made a difference in the outcome.
It seemed like as the match wore on that really there was a struggle to find some sort of consistency with both sides, because you guys came out really well in that first set. You won 25-14, And then the next set, AB won 25-12. And it seemed like not really every set throughout the two matches, but the only time one team won back-to-back sets was AB in the fourth and fifth set of that first match. What was it something that AB was doing schematically that gave you guys problems and kind of messed with your ability to grab hold of the match, or what really fell into that?
We talked about it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday with the team, and one of the things that's so frustrating is that both Kendall and myself are doing a lot of like film breakdown, trying to find the other team's weaknesses, because what I think is important is for our team to control our side of the court. Like, let me do the research on the other girls. So, we had this game plan that would just like pick AB apart. And of course, we don't put it into play until practice on Wednesday. And, I think that once again, it shows like, hey, we are physically capable of doing what Kendall and I were asking them to do, but now we got to do it during the game and not, practice the day after.
Right.
But I think that I never would think of myself as having like years of experience coaching. I think I'm still pretty like new to this, but this isn't the first time I've had a group of girls that I give a game plan to and then they execute it just a little bit too late. So, I think that speaks to kind of the score differentials. We came out, and I think probably AB underestimated us too. So we came out and just kind of like floored them with, 25-14, like, whoa, this is not the team that we were expecting, which is always exciting. But then I think AB put their game plan into action a little bit faster, a lot of bit faster than we were able to. And that's just part of it. That's just part of competing and learning and playing.
One of the players who both matches really was strong on the attack was first-year Beverly Braun. 36 combined kills in the two matches. She had I think it was 23 in the second match, I want to say is what it was. What allowed Beverly to have the success that she did that night?
Bev is great. I think that one of the things that Bev brings to the team that other girls are trying to figure out is she knows what kind of player she is, and she knows how to tap into her, outside hitting toolbox, more or less. Like, she has a variety of shots and knows how to use them and when to use them. So that's a maturity piece that it's crazy that a freshman outside hitter has. And, I think that she comes from a history of high school and club volleyball, being surrounded by some great people too. So I think that sometimes she's smarter than, I think Kendall said it during the game too. She was like, man, Bev is smarter or faster at thinking than we are able to like coach her through. So, that's exciting to see. And I really am excited to see the rest of the girls and incoming recruits kind of step up to that challenge too.
Now, my next question is something that I guess over my years, before I even came to Frostburg and watching volleyball when I was in college at Seton Hall, and I've done it here, my year plus here, is kind of looking at who is attacking and how many attack attempts each player is getting. I looked at Beverly Braun, who had 59 attack attempts in the second game, and the next closest was Haley Altimus with 26. AB was doing the same thing with Ashley McDonald, who you talked about before. How much stock as a coach and someone who played do you put into diversifying or mixing up who goes on the attack, or do you just really ride the hot hand and the player who's been like, does that kind of mess with, I guess, the defense if you're kind of mixing up who's going on the attack? What do you put into that?
100% what you're saying. I think that, you look at successful teams in any division, Division 1 through Division 3. You look at the teams that are successful, and then some of the teams that are like, I'm talking like consistently successful.
Yeah.
And those are the programs where they don't have just one hitter, because you can't just rely on one person. You can in certain situations where it's like, oh wow, that person had like a standout game, but if that team relies on that one individual for the entire season, for their entire like span of 4 years that they're there, then you're only one dimensional. And the most successful programs are the ones that I don't want to say play a guessing game, but like as a blocker, you get the stats, you get the scouting report from coach, and they're like, they spread their offense really nicely. Typically, your outsides get more attempts just because out of system balls, whatever it is, like they're going to get the most attempts. But then when you have your right sides and your middles, like right there, it makes it really hard. You have to be very, disciplined and remain extremely honest as a blocker to be like, oh, they're going to, who knows, good pass. Like it can go to anybody. And I think, I think back to, myself as a setter, I was surrounded by some great hitters. And honestly, I think that's why I got kind of the accolades I did. It wasn't me as a setter. It was the people that surrounded me. But, like, I had middles that would work hard and pull blocks and make other hitters available. And that's one of the biggest things that we're working on with our team right now. Like, you got to work to pull people. So then there's that consistency, like, oh, we're setting outsides a lot. And then we have blockers that start to cheat to the outside. And then it makes that middle hitter like, oh, wow, I get to swing on an open net. Like, who doesn't like that? Or I get to swing against, like, one single blocker instead of three. So I think that that's just like, it comes with a lot of practice. And we talk about in practice being intentional with the things that we're doing and just eye work and setters making good choices by looking through the net. And I think it's challenging the girls right now to like maybe tap into a little bit more of their volleyball IQ than just like physically playing the game. But I think in the long run, it's really going to help.
Busy week for your team this week. The bright side, you've had nearly a week off after the AB game, but as mentioned before, you're at Wheeling tonight, then you turn right around and host them at Bobcat Arena tomorrow night, and then you are basically heading back to the same spot you're going tonight with going to West Liberty to take on the Hilltoppers on Friday. Where's the mindset of your team right now heading into this week with these 3 games?
I think angry is a little bit too intense of a word.
But it fits.
No, I think that they're angry. You fight really hard for 2 5-set matches back-to-back. And then, honestly, this entire season has been just a little bit frustrating for all teams, like for all sports, because you do what you're supposed to do regarding like COVID protocol, practices, workouts, all of those things, schoolwork, and then your schedule gets adjusted for whatever reason. So then you get put into a different situation, which sometimes might be good, sometimes might be bad, whatever it is. But I think, you just want some consistency to get into a routine. So I think that right now the team is very out of routine based off of like not playing that first week, or getting randomly rescheduled to another, like all over the place. And then, I think the AB matches showed some promise, but of course, we still lost, and that sucks. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
You're fine.
And that's frustrating, and then not getting to like take out that anger right away on another opponent and having to wait a whole week. So I think that maybe, at least that's how I'm feeling. So I think that is kind of promising. Because I think sometimes, getting that emotion is helpful, and that's what we're tapping into. But, once again, though, we're playing some great competition. Like, Wheeling consistently has been successful with the MEC since, they just had their first conference loss since 2008.
Yes.
Okay, in my personal opinion, that does not make them any less great than what they have been. West Liberty, doing amazing this season, and, the opportunity to get to play those teams and just battle with them is really fun. So I think that, it's tricky, 3 matches in 1 week, 2 practices. We're going to do what we can do, but in big pictures, we get to play some great volleyball.
Well, hopefully that anger channel it into some victories and some good play this week. Coach Kylie Hine, appreciate you joining us on the Bobcast. Good luck this week.
Thank you.